We have a lot of countries that want to make a deal. Frankly, they want to make deals more than I do.
The tariffs will also hurt consumers around the world. It will be felt immediately.
For centuries, the world has watched America rise, its military unmatched, its economy a force of nature. But across the Atlantic, Europe stands firm, a continent forged by war, diplomacy, and centuries of resistance. Could the United States, the global superpower, truly conquer an entire continent? History whispers caution. Empires have tried. Rome, Napoleon, Hitler all believed they could reshape Europe in their image, and all failed. But America isn't just another empire. It has the firepower, the wealth, and the strategic influence to attempt the unthinkable. Yet war is never just about weapons. It's about resilience, alliances, the will to fight. If the United States ever turned its full might toward Europe, would the continent crumble, or would history repeat itself? This is more than a hypothetical. It's a battle of power, ideology, and survival. And the answer might change everything. Chapter 1. The military might of the USA versus Europe. Imagine this. A global crisis erupts, and suddenly, the United States is in direct military conflict with the entire European continent. It's a war scenario no one thought possible, but if it happened, who would have the upper hand? The US military is a global powerhouse, over 1.3 million active troops, the largest air force in the world, and an unmatched fleet of aircraft carriers that project power anywhere on the planet. With stealth bombers, hypersonic missiles, and a vast nuclear arsenal, the US is built for rapid, overwhelming force. But Europe isn't defenseless. The combined forces of NATO, led by military giants like France, the UK, and Germany, field over 3 million troops and cutting-edge defense systems. Eurofighter jets, advanced missile defense, and formidable tank battalions could turn Europe into an impenetrable fortress. The question is, does raw American firepower guarantee victory? Or would Europe's combined strength and home field advantage prove too much to overcome? The battle lines are drawn, but war is never just about numbers. It's about strategy, endurance, and the will to fight. And if the USA wanted to conquer Europe, how would they even begin? Chapter 2. War Strategies. How would the USA invade? If the USA were to take on the impossible task of conquering Europe, how would it begin? A full frontal assault is out of the question. Europe is too vast, too fortified. Instead, the US would rely on what it does best: shock and awe. The first move? Air dominance. Before a single soldier steps onto European soil, waves of stealth bombers and drone swarms would cripple enemy radar and air defenses. At the same time, elite cyber units would paralyze power grids, disrupt communications, and spread digital chaos. Europe's governments would be scrambling before they even knew what hit them. With the Atlantic acting as a natural barrier, the US Navy would blockade key European ports, cutting off fuel, food, and reinforcements. Aircraft carriers stationed in the Mediterranean would pressure southern Europe, while missile submarines lurk beneath the waves, ready to strike. If the US were to land troops, where would they begin? A direct invasion of Western Europe would be suicidal. Too many well-defended nations. Instead, they might target a weaker entry point. Iceland as a staging ground. Then a rapid assault on Scandinavia or southern Europe. Speed is everything. If the invasion drags on, European forces could regroup and counterattack. But here's the real question. Even if the US gains a foothold, can they hold it? The battle for Europe has only just begun, and the resistance is coming. Chapter 3. The European Resistance. Can they hold the line? The invasion has begun. US forces have established their beachheads, their air power dominating the skies, their fleets controlling the seas, but what happens next is something no war strategist can fully predict: the resilience of Europe. The moment American boots touch European soil, the battlefield transforms. Cities become fortresses, streets become traps, every citizen a potential soldier. Europe has fought off invaders before, from Napoleon to Hitler, and history has proven one thing: this continent does not surrender easily. Britain, France, and Germany deploy their elite forces. The Alps become an impenetrable wall. The dense forests of Eastern Europe swallow entire battalions. In the shadows, cyber warfare cripples supply lines, and coordinated guerrilla attacks turn every occupied city into a nightmare. Meanwhile, NATO unites like never before. Millions rally to defend their homelands. U.S. supply chains stretch thin. What started as a swift invasion is now a brutal, drawn-out war of attrition. The question is no longer whether Europe can hold the line, but how much the U.S. is willing to lose to break it. And in war, time favors the defenders. Chapter 4: The Economic and Political Fallout. War isn't just fought on the battlefield, it's waged in banks, boardrooms, and stock exchanges. Within days of an all-out war, the global economy would begin to unravel. The U.S. relies heavily on European trade, and a prolonged conflict would trigger catastrophic market crashes, sending shockwaves through Wall Street and beyond. Oil prices would skyrocket, inflation would spiral out of control, and supply chains would grind to a halt. Meanwhile, Europe wouldn't just sit back. The EU, backed by its allies, could unleash crippling economic sanctions, freezing American assets and cutting off vital resources. But the real wild card? China and Russia. Would they watch from the sidelines or seize the moment to shift the balance of global power? And then comes the unthinkable political instability. How long before protests erupt in the US against a war that seems unwinnable? How long before European governments crumble under pressure? Would this war even have a winner? Or would it simply reshape the world into something far more dangerous? With each passing day, the cost of war wouldn't just be measured in firepower, but in economic ruin and political collapse. Chapter 5: The Final Outcome. Who would win? The world watches in shock. The battle lines have been drawn, but as the war drags on, one thing becomes clear. This isn't just about firepower. At first, U.S. forces dominated the skies, crippling European defenses with precision airstrikes and cyber warfare. American aircraft carriers patrol the Atlantic, cutting off vital supply routes. Major cities tremble under the pressure of an unstoppable force. But then, Europe fights back. The sheer number of nations, each with its own military strategies, turn the conflict into a brutal, drawn-out war. Guerrilla tactics, missile defenses, and home ground advantage wear down U.S. forces. NATO allies, once caught off guard, regroup and retaliate, launching counteroffensives that the U.S. never anticipated. Meanwhile, the global economy plunges into chaos. Protests erupt in both America and Europe as civilians demand an end to the war. China and Russia, sensing an opportunity, begin to shift the balance of power. In the end, both sides face a grim realization. No one truly wins in a war of this scale. Would the U.S. conquer Europe? Maybe for a moment. But holding it? That's a battle no army could win.